Hey leaders, I'm so excited that you're here because that tells me that you are ready to get serious about taking on what I believe is the number one enemy of companies and leadership, and that is low engagement. And I know what low engagement looks like. I've studied the data inside and out, and I've also had the privilege to talk to over 5,000 men and women live on the Ken Coleman Show. Men and women who are leaving leaders to search for something more in their work. And you've experienced that as well. According to Gallup's research, this is a startling number that we as leaders have to come to grips with. 35% of employees in the United States are what we would call engaged. 35%. So we are in a workforce now and leading people who are largely acting like zombies, and they're collecting your paychecks. That's not good enough. And that's why you aren't growing the way you want to grow. That's what's causing so many problems operationally for you as a leader. So let's talk about what engagement looks like. We want an engaged workforce. That's why you're here. And that's what this assessment tool is going to help you develop. So what are we looking for? What does the right picture look like? I think there are 4 C's of engagement that you'll see every day. Number 1, an engaged employee is consistent. They show up. They're there, not just in body, but they're there in spirit. Number 2, they're competent. They really are doing a good job and doing it consistently. 3rd, they're collaborative. See, they're going above and beyond what is expected of them, and they are looking to collaborate, to help that teammate, to help you, the leader, to step above and beyond their role for the good of the organization and the customer. And then the 4th C, they care deeply. They care. There's a spirit, there's an emotion about them where you can tell, I've got a crusader on my hands. They care deeply, not just about their work, but their teammates, me as their leader. They care about the customer. They care about the product or the service that we are providing. Now let's flip this. So if that's what engagement looks like, what does a lack of engagement look like? Okay, let's go back. Number 1, they aren't consistent. They're not even showing up. When they are there, they're not competent. They're not even thinking about anybody other than themselves and the next refreshed video on Facebook. So they're not collaborative. And of course, they don't care. And it's very obvious. This is a tremendous problem when we have a disengaged workforce. So how does that play itself out in creating a myriad of problems for the organization? Let's look at some biggies. A lack of engagement leads to low creativity. I think of this in terms of solving problems. As a leader, you are in the problem-solving business. And in some way, every teammate needs to be solving problems. And when creativity is low, problem-solving is bad. Then low productivity. They're just not given everything they can give, and thus we don't get as much done. Excellence and efficiency are clearly affected. Then when you combine a person who is not being very creative, they're not being very productive, guess what? They begin to sense that something's not right. They're tired of refreshing Facebook all the time, and they're going to start wandering out your doors, looking for that spark, that juice somewhere else. And this leads to poor retention, turnover. And then when all that turnover is happening and all that low productivity and low creativity is rampant in the organization, guess what? Our customer suffers. Customer service drops. And then that can only affect our profits. Profits are lower. So this is a 5-alarm fire. You have got to solve it. And the good news is you can solve it. And then let's look at what happens in a business when we see those C's of engagement day in and day out. 43% decrease in turnover, 18% increase in productivity. And maybe my favorite piece of data, and I know this is going to hit you in your wallet, a 23% increase in profitability. So we've discussed the problem from many different angles and why we need to have an engaged workforce. And I mean, every seat on the bus needs to have an engaged person there.